have not. We are live though. Tell me about these water drops you're drinking, Vicky.
Hey, I don't like drinking water because it makes me thirsty. And I think, really? You're drinking water. Shut up. But I saw this ad for water drops. Okay, whatever that is. And there were three different kinds. One has thyme in it. One has star fruit in it. Yeah. And one has peach in it. Yeah. So I've been drinking water, but there's a problem. It tasted so good that after dinner, I had 3 bottles of it. So I was up all night because I had had like a gallon of freaking water, but it tasted really good. And it's interesting. I don't know what it is, but I think it's the viscosity. It's slicker than other water. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if
It
that's
does.
real, or am I just imagining it? Does it make it more alkaline? I don't know, but it's wetter water, and my thirst is quenched more instead of being thirsty. And I don't know how to
That's kind
describe
of
it.
cool. I'll take it.
So
Yeah,
water
let's do water,
drop.
guys. So, yeah, welcome. Happy Wednesday. It's an amazing week. And we're going to be talking about letting go.
Oh, and being powerless
Ah,
and owning up to I cannot change this and I have to be hands off. I've got to let it go and I can't keep taking it back. And that's something
yeah,
that we do, especially with dysfunctional family members. The
we
kids
do
that
it with
don't learn.
business too.
Yeah, or the
Life, business.
yeah, or the employee who doesn't get it. And it's like, how many times do we have to sit down? How many times do we have to
Oh
explain it? And then finally, I've done all I can. I have to let this go, and it's hard.
my God.
So I have a friend who's sick, and she called me at dark 30 and said, I'm really sick. And I said, okay, you need to do A, B, C, and D, and you need to do it right now. And when did you start feeling sick? 9 days ago. What? We're in days of pandemic. What do you mean 9 days ago? Where you? And I had to let go of this. And
Mhm.
then she ended up in the hospital because the doc in a box sent her home with Tylenol and said, if you feel worse, go to the hospital. And I said, okay, get a pulse ox so you are on track of your lung, capacity. Make sure you're getting oxygen. I went through the list of things she needed to be taking. None of it. And then, I'm really surprised I have to go to the hospital. And I think, well, why is that? So I
Hmm.
had to let go. And in business, you have to let go of people who never learn from their mistakes, and people who don't know how to talk to the public, and people who do not treat your business well. We've all had that nightmare admin who is rude to people on the telephone, or you know because it's not their business, and they feel
Mhm.
like they don't have a dog in the hunt, and what do they care if somebody gets mad at you?
Mhm.
And so letting go is very
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah. No, I get it. And there's so many things that happen in life and in business that we just can't control.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
I can't control, I'll give you guys the perfect example. Every time my daughter gets stressed, she dyes her hair, she gets a tattoo, or she gets another piercing. It's her way of managing her stress. I can't control that.
No, because she's an adult.
She's
It's
an
not
adult,
what she's
right? And
12.
even when she was younger, you can't totally control it. And you can't control how your children are reacting to things beyond a certain,
Hmm.
like, okay, you're
Hmm.
going to sit in timeout. And, it's really interesting to me that one of the things I learned early on as a parent is that there's a lot of things that my kids do that are complete asshattery that I don't have control over.
Hmm.
Now I
Hmm.
can hold them accountable for it, but I don't have direct control over it. And it's really interesting how that so applies to business too. You can't control, clients going off the rails. Or, you had I'm sure, plenty of clients in family law who did everything they weren't supposed to do.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Yeah, including kill themselves on the tune of 4 to 5 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, being powerless over that is something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I have a goofy example of this, but this is very real. And when I saw this, I nearly fell off my chair. So, a church that I used to attend had and this is not unusual. And I heard the statistics were something like 88% of Catholic churches have this problem where they have someone in the office embezzling. And I mean, it's just cash money coming right through. Take a 20, and then it always turns into a 2,000, into a 20,000, into. But anyway, be that as it may. So this church, and it's a very old church, and it's a very conservative church. I'm not talking about politics necessarily, but I'm talking about the denomination is a very.
Mm-hmm.
So they had an embezzler. Okay, caught him. That happened. This was 20 years ago, and off to the pokey he went, restitution, all that stuff. I wasn't around. So the minister has just retired, and the church hired another minister who was convicted of a pay-to-play scheme in his previous employment, which was not as a minister. And he was a political operative, and he was convicted of a paid. And anyway, apparently he's had a come to Jesus event, and he's now a pastor. God bless him. I don't know what's in his heart, and I don't intend to judge what's in his heart. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear the church, and I remember how distressed some people were over how could this man betray us? He stole from us the treasure, all these times. People are still talking about that. And now they hired another one.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about feeling powerless. And I thought, well, what do I do about that? And it's like, I drive away. That's how I handle it.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine wrote a book called The Bully Caterpillar. And Jay is a psychologist, and he gives an analogy in his book about bullies.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy comes and hits you with a stick, and you take away the stick. That's what you do. You don't keep going back for the same old stuff. You take away the stick. What is your power? When you're feeling powerless, what is your power? And I think that a lot of times we do have power. It just isn't how we thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
When you're married badly, you think, I'm going to get him to see, or I'm going to get her to see. And maybe your power is, no, I'm going to get me to see, and I'm going to pack my dolls and dishes and get the hell out of Dodge. It isn't always what we expected. It isn't always what we wanted it to be. But the wisdom of powerlessness is quite a grown-up lesson, including an employee that you just can't turn around, an employee who's not interested in being a good employee.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes they think that they're being a good employee. One of the things I've learned with a lot of people is that they're not really necessarily evil. I've run into a lot of people who aren't intentionally out to cause trouble or be difficult.
They might just be stupid.
They just don't have that view of themselves. They just don't understand.
What do you mean? View of
some
themselves how?
People don't see their effect on others around them.
Okay.
They
So
don't
they lack
perceive,
awareness. Okay.
They lack that perception and that awareness. And I think that is really, honestly, the more common thing than people who actually set out with ill intent.
Could be. I was at DMV getting my driver's license renewed the other day. Oh my gosh. And if this is where we are as a human race, God help us. But that's another story.
I bet
So
that's like going to for people of Walmart.
I- eh, worse, worse. So a man was on the telephone and he was talking to whoever, and he was just louder and louder, and everyone in the hall could hear him. I mean, this was a room that held
Mhm.
200 people, and all of us were hearing what he was going to have for dinner, and all of us were hearing his story. And I thought, your lack of awareness is stunning to me. But I think that's what you're saying, and I
Mhm.
think it's more prevalent than not.
Mhm. Yeah. And, so when you have somebody like that working for you, somebody who doesn't have that situational awareness, that awareness of their effect on people around them. I mean, some people are overly sensitive, but then there are some people who go the complete opposite direction, and they may think that they're being totally sympathetic, totally everything to everybody else, and they're just not aware. I mean, I will tell you one of the mistakes I have made, and I am learning as I grow up and gain a little bit more maturity, is one of the ways I've tended to sympathize or relate to people is to, yeah, okay, I understand that. I'm so sorry where you're coming from. And then sometimes I will relate in some way that like I relate back to them. And that apparently causes offense sometimes. So I've learned to just be quiet and shut my mouth. And it takes time to be aware of, what somebody needs in a given situation. And it's not always easy. Um, Hence the book, Talking to Strangers. Um, Trying to communicate well with people and understanding both what you're saying and how it's being received is really tricky. There's the whole set of discussions between Winston Churchill and Hitler, um, just before and during World War II. Um, you know, Winston Churchill thought that, Hitler was agreeing to all kinds of things, so, when he was smiling and nodding, and he had zero intention of complying. Granted, the man is a complete psychopath,
Yeah,
but,
play the hand you're dealt here. And
you
that's
know,
wisdom that, gee, am I dealing with Charles Manson?
right.
Or,
But,
you know,
but he wasn't aware enough that he was being played by a psychopath. And, that is one of those things where humans as a species are just fascinating in our mode of communication and what we see and what we hear and what we say. And there's so much nuance, and so much of it is cultural and generational and
and how are
gender
children going to learn
specific.
if their teacher has a mask on?
Yeah, and that's a whole other set of challenges, right? But, tone of voice, well, you could totally mistake a tone of voice, as being harsh or sharp when somebody was just trying to be loud, um so that they could be heard. And it's really challenging. And then you're back to that letting go of what you can't control. Well, you can't control how somebody else perceives you, nor does it really
And that's hard.
matter. Your opinion of me doesn't really matter to me. Shouldn't really, you know
Mhm.
um but it's hard to let go of that, especially when we want people to like us. And there are times where people really don't.
And that's hard,
That is
because you want
really
to be
hard.
liked. Yeah. But that's not why I'm here. I got other fish to fry than getting you to like me. And
Hmm. Right. But, letting go of lots of things is really hard, what we can't control.
mhm,
And then not realizing how badly we communicate as a species.
I think I think that's really stellar. And I called somebody today because I was so nonplussed over my sick friend. And I said, am I clear when I speak? Am I,
Mm-hmm.
um, do you understand it? Because I try to speak in layman's terms, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
medicine. Maybe they haven't had the education or the experience I've had, whatever. And not in a condescending way, but let's make this palatable so that people don't have to feel stupid if they don't understand something. Make it simple so they can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always stunned how people, I think people just have their own agenda and they're just not available to hear. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what it
Yeah.
is.
We have our own little scripts going on in our head constantly, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, think about how much you really hear of what the other person says,
Well,
especially if we're distracted.
and that's why I always say to people, if they have a big doctor's appointment, the follow-up appointment after all the big tests, take somebody with you, because as
Mm-hmm.
soon as somebody says cancer, you don't hear anything after that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, yeah. Uh, you're right about the scripts, because how is he judging this? How is he taking this? How's he, he kind of looks upset, or and you're so focused on that. That might not be it at all, because that isn't your gig. That's their gig. Your gig
Right.
is to get the point across and
Mm-hmm.
find out if they've gotten it.
Well, and Xena gets teased or got teased occasionally in high school because she has what is affectionately known in a lot of circles as RBF, resting bitch face. And
Hmm.
I've been told the same thing, that I can be relatively unapproachable until you get to know me.
Hmm.
And then I'm a big fat squishy teddy bear.
I never
Shh,
thought of
don't
you as
let
that.
the secret out.
I won't.
As
I won't.
intimidating?
I never see.
Yeah. But you met me kind of in a different circle. You didn't meet me like in a totally professional setting where I was being completely professional Haley either.
Resting bitch face. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good
Mm-hmm.
one. Hmm.
It doesn't help that my daughter is also a fourth degree black belt.
Just saying.
Just saying. And she could do you in with her bare hands if she chose to, but she's not going to choose to.
She wouldn't be resting anymore if she did that.
It would take too much effort. She's the laziest athlete I know. She'll like go into the gym, train for hours. She's doing club
Wait a minute.
gymnastics,
That's not lazy if you're training for hours.
club field hockey. She does all this. She goes, she trains, she kicks butt, she takes names. She comes home. I was like, can you lift that thing for me 2 feet from me, please, Mom? She's like, I can hear you, right? Yep, I do know.
Well,
But it's just, I think it's great. The opposites, the home versus the, training hard and kicking butt and taking names. I
I
do the
think
same
you have to
thing
be
too, for what
comfortable.
it's worth.
Yeah,
Pot, meet,
absolutely.
kettle. Let me just be clear. I do the same thing.
I think it's funny.
I do, don't I, Xena? She says, yeah.
I think that, like Scott Peck said in The Road Less Traveled, life is difficult. And I think that when we make peace with the fact that we're powerless over others, and that doesn't mean we don't have an influence, but we're they gotta be whatever they've got to be, and they're going to be whatever they're going to be, whether you're in the room or you're not. And we have to be okay with that, and
Mhm.
not obsess over how to get them to see and how to make them change, and how to, as an employer, you have expectations. You lay it out. Show
Mhm.
up at 8, lunch is at 12, go home at 5, and in between, I want these tasks done. Um, that's a business arrangement. If it's clear, then I expect A and B from you. If I don't have it, then you're not going to have a job. But I'm powerless over whether you like your job. I'm powerless over
Mhm.
um, how you go about it is, as long as the work product is done properly, that the work product is good, you know, however you do your math is the way you do your math. As long as 2
Mm-hmm.
plus 2 equals 4, I'm powerless over this.
Right.
And that's hard. That's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think people who are big on control and big on holding on tight are that way because they are very afraid. And
Mm-hmm.
and nothing bad will happen to me if I hang on tight.
Mm,
And that's just not true. It's a lie people tell themselves.
absolutely. Well, and the interesting thing about the nothing bad will happen to me if I hold on tight is that the opposite is frequently the case. The tighter I hold on, the worse things get,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
especially when it
That's
comes
true.
to relationships and other people.
Right. Because people don't want someone, smothering you or hanging on tight.
Mm-mm.
You've got your thing to do. I've got my thing to do. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. So, yeah, let go of what we can't control.
I'll start tomorrow. Okay.
I've already started. It's an amazing feeling of letting go of things. I'll give you an example. I had a situation with a car I bought this summer. Um, you know, I bought a car in June that, you know, had some issues. We got them all fixed. And I'm like, I can't control whether this vehicle is going to be reliable or not from this point forward. And I can't control it. And I don't have any guarantees that it really will be reliable. But everything I knew was fixed. Got rid of it. And,
I have an ex-husband like that.
I just, I couldn't control the scenario. And I realized I really couldn't control the scenario. And it was unpredictable enough. And there was enough risk involved that I'm like, I already spent almost $8,000 in additional incurred expenses dealing with this thing, not counting the repairs, the dealership, and the warranty, and all of that had to be done. I'm like, we're done. Fallacy of sunk costs.
And the ability to make a decision is a really good thing when it comes to powerlessness, because you take back a lot of power when you say, this is good for me or this is not good for me.
It's
And
done what it needed to. We're good. We're done.
And now I can move on because I'm clear on what's good for me and what isn't. And it's not that I don't care about you, but I have to do what's right for me and my team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And ultimately, each of us individually has to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, our livelihoods. And the decision that we make today may not be the same decision we make tomorrow as life changes.
We're not the same people. Things have happened to us today that have changed us, and we're going to see the world differently tomorrow.
Yeah, my husband quoted recently, which kind of floored me for a lot of reasons. The quote that, a man never crosses the same river twice.
Mm-hmm.
Both he and the river changed.
They've changed. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And there's like, whoa,
that's very profound.
Incredibly profound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just like incredible depth of wisdom of, things change and knowing when to let go is just incredibly powerful. You can't control it. You can't change it.
And that's the beginning of wisdom is when you can let it go.
And that's when you stop driving yourself nuts. Letting go of things that we're doing in our business is a good one. Letting go of trying to do too many things. A lot of people think I'm just like insanely busy all the time.
And
I
people think
do
I am
stay
important if I am very busy.
right, right. And I'm going to let y'all in on a secret. I'm actually not as busy as you probably think I am. Now, I do schedule my time judiciously. I'm very selective about my scheduling. But today I went out to dinner with my husband and my daughter because she's in town and our foreign exchange student. And we went to Raleigh and then we came home, we picked up the dog and we went out for a lovely walk. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're always so busy. Y'all, I schedule fun into my schedule.
Yeah, we learned that, didn't we?
We did.
Mm-hmm.
Schedule that downtime. You're always too busy to do blah, blah, blah. Y'all, you pick and choose the things that are the most important to you.
That's right. And you have to be willing to do that, or it'll all slip away.
Yeah. I hear from people a lot that I don't have time to do that, or I don't have time to do that. And, you pick the things and you're going to do the things in life that are the most important to you. Ultimately, how you choose to spend your time, how you choose to spend your energy shows me what's important to you.
Show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Show me your calendar and I'll tell you how much money you're making. In a lot of cases in business.
And I'm seeing a lot of people who don't want to work. And I'm seeing a lot of daughters of friends of mine, and their moms were real trailblazers. We're in our 60s, and these girls are saying, oh, hell no. I'm not going to devote my life to my career. I'm not going to let my family come in second or third. I'm not doing that. And that's okay too. That's what they choose for their lives. I just think it's interesting.
I've learned a very real lesson the last few years with my oldest, having a lot of medical issues and, all the things, and then trying to raise 3 other kids. You can have everything you want in life. You can have an amazing career. You can have an amazing business. You can have kids. But you're not going to have it all at once if you're trying to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one of you.
Thing.
And you got to sleep. For me, it's 8 to 9 hours a night. People think I don't sleep. Y'all, I love my sleep.
Mm-hmm. And the sooner you figure out what it is you need, the sooner you get onto it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am such a sleep addict, y'all. Confession. True confessions. I am such a sleep addict. I love sleep. People ask me what I do for fun. I take naps. That's my happy place.
Well, we're going to encourage each other to let go of what we have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to encourage each other to be wise about it so that we know when we don't have control.
And letting go of the things that we need to let go of. Mm-hmm. Because they're no longer serving us, even if we do have control over it.
Mm-hmm. That means cleaning out the closet.
If sleeping was an Olympic sport, I would win. Yeah. I might give you a run for it, Tish. There's a reason people know not to look for me before 2 on the weekends.
Whatever works.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Know when to pick the battles and when to give up and what things to give up and bypass. Thank you for doing this with me here tonight. This has been fun.
This has been very fun, and it's such an important topic. And the sooner you start analyzing what you have control over and what you don't, mm-hmm. the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. And
so you can focus on the really important things in life.
Yeah. Figuring out which windmills you're going to go tilting at.
Well, that's the second time I've heard that phrase in 24 hours.
It's from Don Quixote de la Mancha.
Yep. But I got to tell you, I don't get it. What is, I mean, does tilting just mean leaning into something?
No, he was crazy, and he thought he was fighting in
A
the
dragon.
yes, and he thought that the windmills were dragons, and that he was in the Crusades fighting
So,
dragons.
tilting. But what is tilting?
Tilting is a medieval term for jousting. He was jousting with dragons, but he was actually jousting with windmills.
Now I know. Now I know, because I
And so
didn't
it's a medieval
understand the
term.
term tilting.
Mhm.
Well, isn't that interesting that I got my answer in less than 24 hours?
There you
So
go.
thank you for that.
I am a bibliophile. Can you tell?
I can't. And
Walking,
that's one of my
talking
favorite
encyclopedia.
happy places because I can just disappear into that book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
Hey, you know what? I think next week we ought to talk about what some of our favorite books are and why.
Mm,
Maybe what we've learned from them that we can pass along
I think
to
so.
our friends.
Totally. Let's bring it. We'll
Okay.
see you guys next week. Take
See you in
care.
a week. All right. Bye bye,
Bye.
everybody.